The transport shuttle descended through Earth's atmosphere in silence. Inside, Zira pressed her forehead against the window, watching the blue planet grow larger beneath them. Her hands were still bound in energy restraints, the marks of a criminal. Beside her, Kalen sat rigid, staring straight ahead with the pride of someone refusing to show weakness. 5 years, Zira muttered. 5 years on this backward planet. It could have been worse, Kalen replied coldly. They could have executed us. Zira turned to glare at her. They had met only 3 days ago. During their sentencing, Zira knew of the Thessian family. Everyone did. They were scholars, scientists, people who looked down their noses at warrior families like Zira's, and Kalen embodied everything Zira hated about them. Arrogant, superior, convinced of her own brilliance. If you hadn't insisted on flying through the diplomatic zone, Kalen began. If you hadn't reprogrammed the shuttle's navigation to show off, Zira shot back. Enough. The Velothian guard at the front of the shuttle didn't turn around. You will both be silent. Your punishment begins now. The shuttle landed in an empty field outside a mid-sized American city. The guard led them out and removed their restraints. He handed each of them a small bag. Inside you will find human currency, identification documents, and an apartment lease. Your universal translators have been implanted. Your appearance modifiers are permanent for the duration of your sentence. Zira looked down at her hands. They looked human now, smaller, weaker, with only 5 fingers instead of 6. Her silver skin was now a pale brown. Her height had been reduced by several inches. She felt trapped in a costume. You will live as humans live, the guard continued. Your technology is limited to basic communication and the appearance modifier. No weapons, no advanced tools, no contact with Veloth except for monthly check-ins. If you attempt to leave Earth or reveal yourselves to the native population, your sentence will become permanent exile. Do you understand? Yes, they both answered. The Council believes Earth teaches humility. Survive your 5 years. Learn what it means to live without the advantages of Velothian civilization. He walked back to the shuttle. Your punishment begins now. The shuttle lifted off, leaving them alone in the field. Zira looked around at the primitive landscape. Trees swayed in the wind. In the distance, she could see the city, low buildings, ground vehicles moving along roads. Everything so slow and inefficient. This is going to be unbearable, Kalen said quietly. For once, Zira agreed with her. The apartment was small. Zira stood in the doorway, staring at the tiny space that would be her prison for 5 years. One main room that served as both kitchen and living area. 2 small bedrooms, 1 bathroom. The furniture looked ancient, cloth-covered seating, wooden tables, nothing that responded to mental commands or adjusted to body signatures. I will take the larger bedroom, Kalen announced, walking past her. No, you won't. Zira blocked her path. We draw lots or we share them equally. Kalen's eyes narrowed. I am a Thessian. My family has served the Council for 12 generations. Your family are soldiers. Guard dogs. I deserve. Zira moved fast, grabbing Kalen's collar. Even in her weakened human form, her warrior training held. On Veloth, your name meant something. Here, you're just another exile, just like me. So drop the superiority act before I drop you. For a long moment, they stared at each other. Finally, Kalen stepped back. Fine. The rooms are equal. Take whichever you want. Zira released her and walked to the right bedroom. It was barely large enough for the bed inside. She sat down on the mattress and put her head in her hands. What had she been thinking? Stealing that shuttle. She had been angry after failing her final combat exam, wanting to prove she was still worth something. Instead, she had proven she was a fool. In the other room, she heard Kalen unpacking. At least they had separate spaces. Small comfort. A knock at the door startled them both. Zira emerged from her room at the same time as Kalen. They looked at each other, confused. Who would knock on their door? They had been on Earth for less than 2 hours. Kalen opened the door cautiously. A human man stood in the hallway, smiling warmly. He appeared to be in his early 30s, with dark skin and kind eyes. He held a covered dish in his hands. "Hi there, I'm Marcus Chen. I live downstairs in 2B. He offered the dish. "I saw you two moving in and thought I'd bring something to welcome you to the building. It's lasagna Italian food. I wasn't sure if you had dietary restrictions, but it's vegetarian, so hopefully it works." Zira and Kalen stared at him. Neither took the dish. Marcus's smile faltered slightly. "Oh, sorry if this is weird. It's just a neighborhood thing we do. Welcome new people. I'm a teacher at the middle school down the street, so I'm off for summer break and I had time to cook. No pressure to eat it if you don't want to." "Why?" Kalen asked bluntly. Marcus blinked. "Why what? Why would you give food to strangers?" He laughed, though he looked confused by the question. "Because you're new here? And everyone needs help sometimes? Plus, moving is exhausting, and I figured you might not want to deal with cooking tonight." He held out the dish again. "Really? It's no big deal." Slowly, Zira took the dish. It was warm in her hands. The smell was strange, but not unpleasant. "Thank you," she said carefully, trying to remember human customs from her briefing. "Of course. If you need anything, recommendations for stores, directions, whatever, just knock on my door, okay? I'm usually around." Marcus smiled again and headed back down the stairs. Zira closed the door and looked at Kalen. "That was strange." "Very strange," Kalen agreed. "He gave us valuable resources and asked for nothing in return. Perhaps it's a trap? A way to establish debt? Maybe." Zira carried the dish to the kitchen area and set it down. "We should be careful around the humans. Trust no one." Kalen nodded. "Agreed. We keep to ourselves, stay isolated, and count down the days until we can leave this primitive world." Finally, something we agree on. The first week passed slowly. Zira and Kalen established an uneasy truce based on mutual avoidance. They took turns using the bathroom and kitchen. They spoke only when necessary. Zira spent her days exploring the neighborhood, trying to understand how humans lived. Everything seemed inefficient and overcomplicated. They used paper money instead of energy credits. They cooked food with fire instead of molecular recombiners. Their communication devices were handheld instead of neural. On the 7th day, Zira was walking back to the apartment when she heard the screech of tires. She turned to see 2 vehicles collide at an intersection just ahead. The sound of crunching metal made her flinch. One car spun sideways and smoke began rising from its engine. Zira stood frozen on the sidewalk. On Veloth, emergency services would arrive within seconds. Automated systems would handle everything. Here, she had no idea what would happen. What happened surprised her. Humans began running toward the accident, not away from it, toward it. A woman pulled out her communication device and began speaking rapidly. 2 men ran to the smoking car and tried to open the doors. Zira saw Marcus emerge from a nearby building and sprint toward the wreckage. The car's back door was jammed. Marcus grabbed it and pulled with all his strength. His face showed strain, showed pain, but he didn't stop. Finally, the door opened. Inside, Zira could see a small human child crying. Marcus reached in and unbuckled the child carefully. He lifted the little girl out, just as flames began to appear near the engine. He stumbled backward, fell, and used his own body to cushion the child's landing. His arm bent at a wrong angle, broken. Zira realized with shock. But he was smiling at the child, telling her she was safe now. Sirens wailed in the distance. The emergency vehicles were coming, but they had been slow. The humans hadn't waited. They had helped immediately, without thinking of their own safety. Zira walked slowly back to the apartment. Kalen was sitting at the table, reading from a primitive book she had found. "A vehicle collision occurred 3 blocks away," Zira said quietly. "I watched humans risk themselves to save strangers. One of them was Marcus, the neighbor who brought us food." Kalen looked up. "Was he injured?" His arm was broken. But he was smiling when the emergency personnel arrived. He kept asking if the child was all right. Kaylin set down her book. That makes no logical sense. Why would he damage himself for someone else's offspring? Quote, I don't know. Zira sat down across from her. But I have been thinking this week. Every human I encounter is inefficient, wasteful, primitive in their technology, yet they seem content, happy, even. They smile at strangers. They help without being asked. Today, they ran toward danger instead of away from it. Your point? Zira met Kaylin's eyes. Maybe we judged this world too quickly. Kaylin was silent for a long moment. Finally, she nodded slightly. Perhaps. But we are still stuck here for 5 more years. Our opinion of Earth changes nothing. I suppose not. Zira stood and walked to the window. Below, she could see humans going about their lives, unaware that 2 aliens watched them from above. But maybe it doesn't have to be torture. Maybe we could learn something here. Learn what? How to be primitive. How to be whatever it is that makes them run toward fire to save strangers. Kaylin didn't respond, but she came to stand beside Zira at the window. Together, they watched the city as evening fell, and lights began to glow in windows across the neighborhood. Neither of them knew it yet, but something had shifted. The first crack had formed in the walls they had built around themselves. And in that crack, something new could begin to grow. Something that would change everything. 3 days after the accident, Marcus knocked on their door again. Zira opened it to find him standing there with his left arm in a blue cast, holding a container of soup in his good hand. His smile was as warm as before. Hey, I made too much soup and thought you might want some. He lifted the container slightly. It's chicken noodle. Great for these cooler evenings. Zira stared at the cast. You injured yourself saving that child. Why are you bringing us food instead of resting? Marcus laughed. Oh, this? It's just a broken arm. I'll be fine in 6 weeks. Besides, cooking keeps me busy. Summer break gets boring sometimes. He paused. Actually, I wanted to invite you both to something. My sister is having a barbecue this Saturday at the park. Just neighbors and friends. You should come. It would be a good way to meet people in the area. We do not, Kaylin started from behind Zira. We will think about it, Zira interrupted, surprising herself. She took the soup. Thank you for the invitation. Marcus's smile brightened. Great. If you decide to come, it starts at 2 o'clock. Lincoln Park, Pavilion 3. No pressure, though. Hope to see you there. After he left, Kaylin crossed her arms. Why did you say we would think about it? We agreed to stay isolated. I know. Zira set the soup on the counter. But I am curious. These humans keep helping us for no reason. I want to understand why. Do you not find it strange? Kaylin was quiet for a moment. I do find it strange. On Veloth, everything is transactional. Help is given to establish obligation or gain advantage. But Marcus gains nothing from us. Exactly. Zira looked at her. So, maybe we should observe them more closely. Study their behavior. It is not breaking our agreement to stay hidden. We are simply gathering information. Kaylin's lips curved slightly. It was almost a smile. Information gathering. That sounds appropriately scientific. Very well. We will attend this barbecue and observe. 2. Saturday arrived warm and sunny. Zira and Kaylin walked to Lincoln Park together, both feeling nervous, though neither admitted it. They could hear the barbecue before they saw it, music playing, children laughing, adults talking loudly. The pavilion was crowded with humans of all ages. Tables were covered with food. A man stood at a large metal grill, cooking meat. Children ran around playing games. The noise and chaos made Zira want to turn around and leave. There you are. Marcus waved from across the pavilion. He walked over with a young woman beside him. I'm so glad you came. This is my sister, Elena. Elena. These are my new neighbors I told you about, Zira and Kalen. Elena was shorter than Marcus, with the same warm smile and friendly eyes. She immediately hugged them both, which startled Zira so much she almost pushed her away. It's so nice to meet you. Marcus said you just moved here. Where are you from originally? Far away, Kalen answered carefully. Very far. Oh. International. That's so cool. What brought you to our little city? We needed a change, Zira said. Our old life was not working out. Elena nodded sympathetically. I get that. Fresh starts are good. Come on. Let me introduce you to everyone. Before they could protest, Elena was pulling them into the crowd. She introduced them to dozens of people whose names Zira immediately forgot. Everyone was friendly, asking questions, offering food, including them in conversations. It was overwhelming and strange, and nothing like Velothian social gatherings, which were formal and structured. A man with long hair and a guitar approached them. Hey, you're the new neighbors Marcus won't shut up about. I'm David. I play music badly and make decent coffee. Your music is not bad, Marcus called from nearby. It's pretty bad, David grinned. But I enjoy it, so who cares? You play any instruments? No, Kalen said stiffly. Want to learn? I give free lessons. Well, free if you can tolerate my teaching style, which is chaotic at best. Before Kalen could refuse, Elena was back, dragging Zira toward a group of women. Zira, these ladies and I do a self-defense class every Thursday evening. You should totally join us. It's fun and good exercise. I do not think. Come on, just try it once. First class is free. If you hate it, no big deal. Zira found herself agreeing, though she had no idea why. Something about Elena's enthusiasm was hard to resist. The afternoon passed in a blur of food, conversation, and music. Zira watched how the humans interacted. They touched each other constantly, hugs, pats on the back, hands on shoulders. They shared food without keeping track of who ate what. They told stories that made everyone laugh, even if the stories made them look foolish. They asked about each other's lives and actually listened to the answers. At one point, Zira sat on a bench watching children play. A small girl fell and scraped her knee. She started crying. Immediately, 3 adults rushed over. They cleaned the wound gently, put a bandage on it, and distracted her with a game until she was smiling again. No one had asked whose child she was. They just helped because she needed help. Kalen sat down beside Zira. This is very strange. Yes, they waste so much time on things that do not matter. Games, music, long conversations about nothing important. Yes, but they seem happy. Zira looked at her. They do, don't they? Marcus approached with 2 plates of food. You both look like you're analyzing a complex puzzle. Everything okay? We are just observing, Kalen said. Observing what? How humans interact. Zira answered honestly. It is different from what we are used to. Marcus sat down across from them, balancing his plate awkwardly with one hand. Different how? Zira chose her words carefully. Where we come from, people are more separate. Everyone focuses on their own advancement, their own achievements. This, she gestured at the pavilion, everyone helping each other, spending time together for no purpose. It is unusual, Marcus nodded thoughtfully. I guess we do take community for granted. But that's what makes life worth living. Right? The connections. The shared experiences. He smiled. We're not meant to be alone. Humans are social creatures. We need each other. After he walked away, Kalen said quietly, on Veloth, needing others is considered weakness. I know. But these humans treat it as strength. I know. They sat in silence, watching the barbecue continue around them. As the sun began to set, someone started a bonfire. People gathered around it, talking and laughing. Elena appeared and pulled them both to their feet. Come on, you can't leave before the best part. We're making s'mores. What are s'mores? Zira asked. Elena's eyes went wide. Oh, you are in for a treat. Walking home that night, Zira and Kalen were both quiet. The evening had been exhausting but not unpleasant. Strange, but not bad. Elena invited me to her apartment tomorrow to watch movies, Zira said finally. She said it is a human bonding activity. David wants to give me a guitar lesson on Tuesday, Kaylin admitted. He was very insistent. Are you going to go? Kaylin was quiet for a long moment. I think so. For observation purposes only, of course. To better understand human culture. Of course, Zira agreed. For observation, but they both knew it was more than that. Something was changing. The walls they had built to keep the humans out were starting to crack. Over the next 2 weeks, those cracks grew wider. Zira went to Elena's apartment and discovered human movies were nothing like Velothian entertainment. They were emotional, dramatic, focused on personal relationships rather than great achievements. Elena cried during a sad part, and Zira found herself wanting to comfort her, which was a completely foreign feeling. She also attended the self-defense class. The instructor was good, but the techniques were basic compared to Velothian combat training. Zira had to hold back constantly, pretending to struggle with moves she could do in her sleep. But the other women were encouraging, celebrating her natural talent, and inviting her for coffee afterward. Kaylin's guitar lessons with David were similarly challenging. The instrument was primitive, requiring physical finger positioning rather than neural control, but David was patient and funny, making jokes when she messed up instead of showing disappointment. Slowly, she began to enjoy the lessons not for the music itself, but for David's company. Marcus continued to check on them regularly. He brought them mail that was delivered to the wrong apartment. He invited them to dinner at his place. He helped them understand confusing human customs and technology. His kindness never seemed to run out. One evening, 3 weeks after the barbecue, Zira and Kaylin sat in their apartment eating takeout food, Chinese cuisine, which Elena had recommended. It was messy and required chopsticks, which were absurdly difficult to use, but it tasted good. I have been here 1 month, Zira said, struggling with a piece of chicken. Only 59 months remain. Yes. Kaylin had given up on chopsticks and was using a fork. I have not thought about home in 5 days. Kaylin set down her fork and looked at Zira. I have not thought about home in a week. They stared at each other, both realizing what they were admitting. They were supposed to hate Earth, supposed to count every day, until they could leave. But instead, they were making friends, learning human skills, enjoying human company. This is dangerous, Kaylin said quietly. I know. We cannot get attached to this place, to these people. I know, but I think it might be too late. Zira nodded slowly. I think you are right. A knock at the door interrupted them. It was Marcus, holding a book. Hey. I found this at a used bookstore, and thought of you two. It's about different cultures around the world. I thought it might be interesting since you're so curious about human behavior. He handed Kaylin the book. She took it carefully, feeling the weight of it in her hands. A gift. Given freely, expecting nothing in return. Thank you, she said, and meant it more than he could possibly know. After Marcus left, Kaylin opened the book and began reading. Zira came to look over her shoulder. The book described human communities from across the planet, their traditions, their values, their ways of connecting with each other. They are all so different, Zira observed, yet all focused on the same thing. Community. Family. Connection. Perhaps, Kaylin said slowly, this is what the Council wanted us to learn. Not humility through suffering, but something else entirely. What? Kaylin looked up at her. That there is more to life than advancement and achievement. That the humans we thought were primitive might actually understand something we have forgotten. Zira sat down beside her. Outside their window, the city lights glowed warm against the dark sky. Somewhere below, their human friends were living their brief, intense lives, filling each moment with meaning and connection. I am starting to forget why we thought we were better than them, Zira admitted quietly. Kaylin didn't answer, but she didn't need to. They both knew the truth now. They had been sent to Earth as punishment, but they were discovering it might actually be a gift. And that realization was both wonderful and terrifying. 6 months had passed since their arrival on Earth. Zira stood in Elena's apartment, helping her study for a major veterinary exam. Flashcards covered the coffee table, and Elena was stressed, running her hands through her hair as she tried to memorize complex anatomical terms. "I'm going to fail," Elena groaned. "I can't remember any of this." "You will not fail," Zira said firmly. "You have studied for 3 weeks. You know this material. But what if I freeze up during the exam? What if I forget everything?" Elena's voice shook slightly. "My parents spent so much money on this program, I can't let them down." Zira felt something twist in her chest. She recognized this feeling now. It was worry for someone else, the desire to protect and comfort. When had Elena stopped being a subject of observation and become someone Zira cared about deeply? "Listen to me," Zira said, moving closer. "You are one of the smartest people I know. You care about animals more than anyone I have met. That passion will carry you through the exam. And even if you do struggle, one test does not define you." Elena looked up at her, eyes slightly wet. "How do you always know what to say?" "I don't. I usually say the wrong thing." Zira smiled slightly. "But with you? Somehow the words come easier." Elena laughed and wiped her eyes. "You're my best friend. You know that? I don't know what I'd do without you these past few months. Best friend." The words hit Zira harder than any combat blow. She had a best friend. A human best friend who trusted her, relied on her, cared about her, and Zira was lying to her every single day about who and what she really was. "I should go," Zira said suddenly, standing up. "You need to rest before the exam tomorrow." "Wait, Zira." Elena stood too, reaching out to touch her arm. The contact sent a shock through Zira's system. "Are you okay? You seem upset." "I'm fine, just tired." Zira forced a smile. "Good luck tomorrow. You will do great." She left quickly, before Elena could ask more questions. Outside, the evening air was cool. Zira walked without direction, her mind spinning. She was in trouble. Deep trouble, because somewhere between guitar lessons and movie nights and late-night conversations, she had fallen in love with Elena. When had it happened? Was it the day Elena brought soup when Zira was sick? Sitting beside her bed reading aloud to keep her company? Was it the time Elena defended her to a rude stranger at the coffee shop? Or was it simply the accumulation of 100 small moments, Elena's laugh, her kindness, the way she looked at Zira like she was someone worth knowing? It didn't matter when it happened. What mattered was that it had happened, and it was forbidden in every possible way. Kaylin was having her own crisis that same evening. She sat in Marcus's apartment, watching him cook dinner. He moved around the kitchen with easy confidence, talking about his day, teaching summer school classes while he chopped vegetables. "One of my students brought a frog to class today," Marcus said, laughing. "Just pulled it out of his backpack during a math lesson. Caused complete chaos." "What did you do?" Kaylin asked, though she was only half listening. Mostly she was watching the way Marcus smiled when he talked about his students, the way his eyes lit up when he described helping a struggling child finally understand a concept, the genuine care he showed for these young humans he taught. "I made the frog our mascot for the day. Named him Pythagoras. The kids loved it." Marcus glanced over at her. "You're quiet tonight. Everything okay?" "Yes, just thinking." "About what?" Kaylin hesitated. "About how different my life is now compared to 6 months ago." Marcus set down his knife and came to sit beside her at the table. "Different good or different bad?" "Different, complicated." She looked at him. "I have never had friends before. Real friends. Where I come from, relationships are about status and advantage. People connect because it benefits them, not because they enjoy each other's company." "That sounds lonely." It was. "I just didn't realize it until I came here." Kaylin's voice was quiet. "You, and David and Elena, and everyone else you give so much without expecting anything back. It confuses me, but it also makes me feel." "Feel what?" "Like maybe I was wrong about everything I was taught." She met his eyes. Like maybe the life I had before was empty, and I didn't even know it. Marcus reached out and touched her hand gently. It was a simple gesture, nothing more than comfort between friends. But Kaylin felt it like electricity through her entire body. She had been touched many times, formal greetings, combat training, medical examinations, but this was different. This was connection. This was care. Kaylin, Marcus said softly. I don't know what your life was like before, but I'm glad you're here now. You're not like anyone I've ever met. You see the world in this unique way that makes me think about things differently. You challenge me. You make me laugh. You're special. Kaylin had to look away. If she kept looking at him, she would do something foolish. Like tell him the truth. Like kiss him. Like admit that she loved him and had no idea when it had started or how to make it stop. I should leave, she said, standing quickly. Thank you for dinner. Wait, you haven't eaten yet. I'm not hungry. I will see you later. She left, before he could protest. Practically running back to her own apartment. Zira was already there when Kaylin arrived. She was sitting in the dark, staring at nothing. Kaylin turned on the light and found Zira's eyes red, as if she had been crying. What happened? Kaylin asked, alarm flooding through her. I'm in love with Elena, Zira said flatly. I tried to pretend I wasn't, but I can't anymore. I'm in love with her, and it's going to destroy everything. Kaylin slowly sat down across from her. I'm in love with Marcus. They stared at each other in shocked silence. Then, despite everything, they both started laughing. It was bitter. Helpless laughter, the kind that comes when a situation is so terrible that it becomes absurd. We're idiots, Zira said, wiping her eyes. Complete idiots, Kaylin agreed. We were sent here as punishment, and we fell in love with the people we're supposed to be separate from. What do we do? I don't know. Kaylin leaned back in her chair. We can't tell them the truth. They would never believe us. Or worse, they would believe us and be terrified. We can't continue lying to them either. Elena calls me her best friend. Every time she says it, I feel like I'm betraying her. Marcus keeps trying to get closer to me, asking about my past, my family, my dreams. I have to lie about everything. Zira stood and walked to the window. The city spread out below them, full of humans living their honest, open lives. 4.5 years remaining on our sentence. Can we really do this for 4.5 more years? Loving them, but never telling them the truth? Before Kaylin could answer, a soft chime sounded. Both of them froze. That sound came from their hidden Velothian communicator, the one they used only for monthly check-ins with the council. But this was not the scheduled time for a check-in. Kaylin retrieved the device from its hiding place behind a loose panel in her bedroom wall. She activated it, and a priority message appeared. Her face went pale as she read it. What is it? Zira asked. A Velothian scout ship just passed through this solar system. Standard survey mission. Kaylin's voice was shaking. But I intercepted their report. Zira. They're recommending Earth for resource extraction. What? Mining operations. The planet has rare minerals that Veloth needs. The Council is considering a proposal to begin extraction within 10 years. Kaylin looked up. Her eyes filled with horror. They would displace the human population, possibly relocate them to reservation zones while they strip the planet. Zira felt like she couldn't breathe. Elena, Marcus, David, everyone we know, they would lose their homes, their world. At best, they would be displaced. At worst, Kaylin couldn't finish the sentence. Zira's mind raced. The Council did not care about primitive species. Earth would be seen as an opportunity. Nothing more. The humans would be considered obstacles to be managed, and there was nothing two exiled criminals could do to stop it. Or was there? We have to do something. Zira said, we're exiles. We have no voice. No authority. If we even try to interfere, they'll execute us. I don't care. Zira turned to face Kaylin fully. I love Elena. I can't let this happen to her world. To her people. To her people. Kaylin stood slowly, holding the communicator. Her hands were shaking, but her voice was steady. I love Marcus. I love the life I've built here. I love the person I'm becoming. She looked at Zira. You're right. We have to do something. But what? We're powerless. No, we're not. Kaylin's eyes sharpened with determination. We're observers. We've been living among humans for 6 months. We know things about this species that the Council doesn't. We can write a report. A testimony. Argue that Earth deserves protection. Not exploitation. They'll never listen to us. Maybe not. But we have to try. Kaylin started pacing, her scientific mind working through the problem. We document everything we've learned. The human capacity for compassion, their creativity, their resilience. We make a case that they're not primitive, they're differently advanced. That destroying their world would be a loss for the entire galaxy. And if the Council rejects our report, then at least we tried. At least we fought for the people we love. Kaylin stopped pacing and met Zira's eyes. We were sent here as punishment. But this place changed us. These people changed us. I won't let the Council destroy them without a fight. Zira felt a surge of respect for Kaylin. 6 months ago, she had dismissed her as an arrogant scholar. Now, she saw a woman of courage and conviction. They were so different, warrior and scientist. Impulsive and methodical. But in this moment, they were united. When do we send the report? Zira asked. We need time to prepare it properly. To gather evidence. To make it undeniable. Kaylin checked the device. The Council will review the scout ship's report in 2 weeks. We submit ours before then. 2 weeks to save a planet. 2 weeks to save the people we love. They stood together in the quiet apartment. 2 aliens who had come to Earth as punishment and found something worth fighting for. Outside, the city continued its endless rhythm, unaware that its fate was being decided in a small apartment by 2 unlikely champions. We can't tell them, Zira said quietly. I know. We protect them by keeping them ignorant. Kaylin's voice was pained. Another lie to add to all the others. But this lie is different. This lie is protection. Is it? Or are we just afraid of losing them if they knew the truth? Zira didn't have an answer. The weight of their secrets was crushing. But the weight of Earth's future was even heavier. We'll figure it out, Kaylin said finally. First, we save their world. Then we face the consequences of our deception. Together? Kaylin nodded. Together. For the first time since they had met, they were not just reluctant roommates or unwilling allies. They were partners, they were friends, and they were about to risk everything for a planet that had become home and people who had become family. The battle for Earth had begun. For the next 10 days, Zira and Kaylin worked frantically on their report. They wrote during the nights when they should have been sleeping, documenting every observation they had made about humanity. Kaylin approached it like a scientific paper, carefully organizing evidence and arguments. Zira added personal testimonies, describing the courage and kindness she had witnessed. But maintaining their normal lives while preparing to save Earth was exhausting. Elena noticed Zira was distracted. Marcus saw the dark circles under Kaylin's eyes. David asked if everything was okay, and every time, they had to lie. I'm fine, just tired. Zira told Elena for the 4th time that week. They were at a coffee shop, and Elena was celebrating passing her veterinary exam with excellent marks. You've been tired a lot lately. Elena's voice held concern. Is something wrong? You can tell me anything, you know that. Zira looked at Elena's open, trusting face. She wanted so desperately to tell her everything. To warn her. To ask for help, but how could she explain that alien forces were deciding whether to destroy Earth? Elena would think she was insane. I'm just dealing with some complicated family issues, Zira said, which was not entirely a lie. Her Velothian family would certainly consider this situation complicated. Do you want to talk about it? I can't, not yet, but I promise, when I can tell you, I will. Zira reached across the table and took Elena's hand. The touch sent warmth through her entire body. Thank you for caring about me. Elena squeezed her hand gently. Of course I care about you. You're important to me, Zira. More important than you probably realize. Zira's heart ached. She wanted to say the words, I love you. I'm in love with you. You mean everything to me. But she couldn't. Not while lying about her very identity. Kaylin was having similar struggles with Marcus. He had invited her to dinner at a nice restaurant, and she couldn't refuse without raising suspicion. But sitting across from him, watching candlelight reflect in his kind eyes, she felt like she was being torn apart. I've been thinking, Marcus said, reaching across the table to touch her hand. We've been spending a lot of time together these past few months, and I really enjoy your company. You're brilliant and funny, and you see the world in ways that amaze me. Kaylin's breath caught. She knew what was coming, and she wasn't ready. I guess what I'm trying to say is, I have feelings for you. Real feelings. And I was wondering if maybe you felt the same way? The question hung in the air between them. Kaylin looked at their joined hands. His skin was warm against hers. She could feel his pulse. Steady and alive. This beautiful, generous human was offering her his heart, and she had to decide whether to accept it or break it. Marcus, she said quietly, there are things about me you don't know. Complicated things. My past is not what you think it is. I don't care about your past. I care about who you are now. But my past is part of who I am. And if you knew the truth, whatever it is, we can face it together. Marcus's grip tightened slightly. You don't have to carry everything alone, Kaylin. That's what people who care about each other do. They share the burden. Kaylin felt tears burning in her eyes. On Veloth, she had never cried. Tears were considered weakness, but on Earth, surrounded by humans and their raw emotions, she had learned that tears were simply truth made visible. I need time, she said. Please give me a little more time. And then, I will tell you everything. I promise. I promise. Marcus looked disappointed but nodded. Okay. I can wait. But Kaylin? Whatever you're hiding, whatever you're afraid of, it won't change how I feel about you. If only that were true, Kaylin thought. If only he knew what she really was. On the 13th day, with their report nearly complete, disaster struck. Zira and Kaylin received an emergency transmission on their communicator. Not from the Council, from the Velothian Enforcement Division. Exiles Zira and Kaylin, the cold voice announced. You are hereby notified of protocol violation. Unauthorized transmissions have been detected from your location. Enforcement officers will arrive in 48 hours to investigate. Prepare for questioning. Any resistance will result in immediate termination of your exile status and permanent consequences. The transmission ended. Zira and Kaylin stared at the device in horror. They detected our research, Kaylin said. All those times we accessed the database for information. All the data we compiled. 48 hours. Zira's voice was hollow. We haven't even finished the report yet. And now they're sending enforcers. If they arrive and find what we've been doing. Kaylin couldn't finish the thought. Interfering with council business was treason. The punishment was execution. They sat in silence for a long moment. Then Zira stood up abruptly. We finished the report tonight. We submitted immediately. If we're going to be executed anyway, we might as well complete our mission first. Agreed. Kaylin pulled up the document on their hidden computer. We work through the night. No sleep. No breaks. We make our case perfect. They worked for 18 hours straight, fueled by desperation and determination. They poured everything they had learned into the report. Kaylin documented human achievements in art, science, and philosophy, despite their limited technology. Zira described acts of heroism and compassion she had witnessed. Together, they argued that humanity's greatest strength was not their advancement, but their capacity for growth, change, and connection. As dawn broke on the 14th day, they finished. The report was complete. 73 pages of evidence, arguments, and testimony. Kaylin prepared to transmit it to the council when Zira stopped her. Wait. There's something we need to add. Zira took a deep breath. Our own testimony. Personal. About what Earth has taught us. Kaylin nodded and opened a new section. Together, they wrote their final argument. We were sent to Earth as punishment, Zira typed. We were meant to learn humility by living as primitives, but instead, we learned something the Council never intended. We learned that advancement is not measured in technology, or lifespan, or power. It is measured in the capacity to care for others, to sacrifice for strangers, to find meaning in brief moments. The humans of Earth live short lives, but they fill those lives with more love and purpose than we, Velothians, achieve in our centuries. They welcomed us when we were strangers. They taught us when we were ignorant. They loved us when we were unworthy. If the Council destroys this planet, it will not just be a loss of resources or a primitive species. It will be the destruction of teachers who showed us what we had forgotten, that true advancement comes from the heart, not the mind. Kaylin added her own words. I was taught that needing others makes you weak. Earth taught me that needing others makes you human. I request that the Council grant Earth-protected status. Not because humans are advanced, but because they are becoming something better than advanced. They are becoming wise. They read it over together. It was honest, personal, and would likely get them both executed for emotional reasoning. But it was the truth. Send it, Zira said. Kaylin pressed the transmission button. The report uploaded to the Council's secure database, bypassing normal channels to reach the decision-makers directly. It was done. Their case was made. Now they had to face the consequences. The enforcers arrive tomorrow, Kaylin said quietly. What do? We tell the truth. Zira's voice was firm. No more lies. We tell Elena and Marcus everything. They deserve to know before we're taken away. They'll think we're insane. Maybe. But they also deserve the chance to believe us. To understand why we did what we did. Kaylin was quiet for a long moment. Then she nodded. You're right. Tonight. We tell them tonight. Tonight. That evening, Zira invited Elena to their apartment. Kaylin invited Marcus. When they arrived, they found Zira and Kaylin standing together, looking nervous and determined. What's going on? Elena asked, concerned. You both look so serious. Please sit down, Zira said. We need to tell you something important. Something unbelievable. But we need you to listen until the end. Marcus and Elena exchanged confused glances but sat down on the couch. Zira and Kaylin remained standing. My name is Zira, she began. But I am not from here. I am not human. I am from a planet called Veloth. Very far from Earth. Elena laughed nervously. Is this some kind of joke? It is not a joke. Kaylin stepped forward. We are both aliens. We were sent to Earth as punishment for a crime we committed on our homeworld. We have been living among you for 6 months, hidden by technology that makes us appear human. Okay, this isn't funny anymore, Marcus said, starting to stand. Please, Zira said desperately, just let us show you. Before they could stop her, Kaylin reached up and deactivated her appearance modifier. The change was instant. Her human features shimmered and disappeared, revealing her true form, silver skin, 6 fingers, eyes that glowed faintly in the dim light. She was taller now. Her proportions slightly different, unmistakably alien. Elena screamed. Marcus stumbled backward, his face pale with shock. Please don't be afraid, Kaylin said, her voice the same even though her appearance had changed completely. We would never hurt you. We care about you. We love you. This isn't possible, Elena whispered, gripping the couch arm. This isn't real. Zira deactivated her own modifier, revealing her true Velothian appearance. It is real. And there is more you need to know. Earth is in danger. Our people are considering mining your planet for resources. They could displace your entire species. We have been fighting to stop it, but we are running out of time. Why should we believe any of this? Marcus demanded, though his voice shook. Because tomorrow, Velothian enforcers will arrive to arrest us for treason, Kalen said. Because we broke our exile rules to try to save your world. Because everything we told you was a lie. Except for one thing. Our feelings for you are real. Elena stood up slowly, staring at Zira. You're really an alien? Yes. And you've been lying to me for 6 months? Yes. But you're trying to save Earth? Yes. We sent a report to our council today. We testified that humanity deserves protection, that your species is worth preserving. Zira's voice broke. We may be executed for it, but we had to try. Because I love you, Elena. I'm in love with you. And I couldn't let my people destroy your world. The apartment fell silent. Elena and Marcus stared at the two aliens before them. Beings from another world, who had somehow become the people they cared about most. Finally, Marcus spoke. You said enforcers are coming tomorrow? Yes, Kalen answered. And they might execute you? It is likely. Marcus looked at Elena. Something passed between them, a silent communication, the kind that only humans who truly understand each other can share. Then, Marcus turned back to Zira and Kalen. Then we have work to do, he said firmly. If tomorrow is all we have, we're not wasting it on fear. We're going to figure this out together. Elena stepped forward and took Zira's silver-skinned hand. I don't understand everything that's happening, and I'm definitely going to need time to process the fact that aliens are real. But you're still the same person who helped me study. Who made me laugh? Who became my best friend? Her voice strengthened. So yes, we face this together. Zira felt tears running down her face again. You believe us? I believe you. Elena pulled her into a hug. After a moment of surprise, Zira hugged her back desperately. Marcus approached Kalen. You're really from another planet? Yes. And you have feelings for me? Yes. He smiled slightly. Well, that explains why you were so weird about so many things. Then he pulled her into his arms. We'll figure this out, Kalen. Whatever happens tomorrow, you're not facing it alone. As the four of them stood together, 2 humans and 2 aliens, the weight of the coming day hung heavy in the air. But for the first time since the crisis began, Zira and Kalen didn't feel alone. They had told the truth, and somehow, impossibly, they had been accepted anyway. Tomorrow would bring the enforcers. Tomorrow their fate would be decided. But tonight, they had love, and that was enough. The Velothian enforcement ship arrived exactly on time, appearing in the sky above the city at dawn. It remained cloaked to human eyes, but Zira and Kalen's communicator alerted them to its presence. They had 1 hour before the enforcers would come to collect them. Elena and Marcus had stayed the night. They had spent hours asking questions, trying to understand the impossible situation. Now, as morning light filled the apartment, they all sat together, exhausted but determined. I still can't believe aliens are real, Elena said, for probably the 20th time. She kept looking at Zira's silver skin, her 6-fingered hands, as if trying to convince herself it wasn't a dream. I can't believe we might lose you before I even got to really be with you, Marcus said quietly. Looking at Kalen, a knock at the door made them all jump. But it wasn't the enforcers. It was David, carrying his guitar case and looking confused. Hey, Marcus texted me last night saying there was an emergency. What's going on? He stopped when he saw Zira and Kalen in their true forms. His guitar case hit the floor. What? What am I looking at? Telf. Aliens, Marcus said simply. They're aliens. Long story. We'll explain later. Right now, we have bigger problems. Before David could respond, the communicator chimed. Kalen activated it, and a holographic image appeared, a stern-looking Velothian in an enforcement uniform. Exile Zira and Kalen. We are Commander Turvok of the Velothian Enforcement Division. You will surrender yourselves immediately. You are charged with unauthorized communications, interference with council business, and potential treason. We are transporting down now. The hologram disappeared. Zira stood and faced her friends. You should all leave. When they arrive, if you're here, you could be in danger. We're not leaving, Elena said firmly, standing beside her. Elena, please. No. You risked your life to save my planet. I'm not abandoning you now. Neither am I, Marcus added, moving next to Kalen. David, still processing everything, picked up his guitar. I have no idea what's happening. But if my friends are in trouble, I'm staying. Also, are aliens really real? Because that's insane. Very real, Kalen said. And very dangerous. Please, all of you should. Light filled the room. When it faded, 3 Velothian enforcers stood in the apartment, their appearance unmodified. They were tall, intimidating, armed with weapons that hummed with energy. Commander Turvok was in front, his expression cold and disapproving. Exiles Zira and Kalen, you are under arrest. His eyes swept over the humans. You have exposed yourselves to the native population. This compounds your violations. We exposed ourselves because we had to tell the truth, Zira said, stepping forward. We submitted a report to the Council about Earth. Did they receive it? Wien said. Did they receive it? They received it. They are reviewing it now. Turvok's expression didn't change. But that does not excuse your crimes. You will return with us to face judgment. Wait, Elena said, moving between Turvok and Zira. You can't just take them. They didn't do anything wrong. They were trying to help. Turvok looked at Elena with mild curiosity, as if she were an interesting insect. Human, you do not understand the situation. These exiles broke fundamental laws. They must face consequences. Then let them defend themselves properly, Marcus said, joining Elena. You said the Council is reviewing their report. Let them present their case in person. Let them fight for Earth. The Council does not take testimony from criminals. Then the Council is making a mistake, Kalen said loudly. We have lived among these humans for 6 months. We know things about this species that your survey teams could never learn. If you take us now, you lose valuable information. Information that could affect the Council's decision about Earth's fate. Turvok hesitated. Kalen pressed her advantage. Contact the Council. Tell them we request a formal hearing. We have evidence and testimony that could change their entire assessment of this planet. If they refuse, fine, arrest us. But if they agree, you would be interfering with their decision-making process by removing us. The logic was sound, and Turvok knew it. He activated his own communicator and stepped away, speaking in rapid Velothian that the humans couldn't understand. The wait felt endless. Finally, he returned. The Council has agreed to hear your testimony via live transmission. You have 1 hour to present your case. If they are not convinced, you will be arrested immediately, and Earth's status will be decided without your input. He gestured, and a holographic communication array appeared in the center of the room. The transmission begins in 5 minutes. I suggest you prepare. Zira and Kalen looked at each other in shock. They had a chance. A real chance to save Earth. What do we do? Zira whispered. We didn't prepare a presentation. We thought we'd be arrested immediately. We tell them the truth, Kalen said. We show them what we've learned. Elena touched Zira's arm. Let us help. Let us show them what humanity is really like. You would do that? Even after we lied to you? You lied to protect us. And now we protect you. Elena smiled. Besides, who better to represent humanity than actual humans? The transmission activated. Suddenly, the apartment was connected to the Velothian council chambers, light years away. 5 council members appeared as holograms. Seated at a curved table, they looked ancient, powerful, and completely uninterested in anything Zira and Kalen had to say. Exiles, the head counselor said. You requested this hearing. You have 1 hour. Speak. Kalen stepped forward, her scientific training taking over. Honored Council, we were sent to Earth as punishment. We were expected to suffer among primitives. But instead, We discovered a species that challenges everything we believe about advancement and worth. She began presenting data human achievements in art, literature, music, philosophy. She showed how humans had developed complex societies despite their short lifespans, how they created beauty not for survival but for meaning, how they explored and questioned, and constantly pushed themselves to improve. But the council members looked bored. This was just data, numbers and facts they had seen before. Zira realized they needed something different, something the council had never seen. "May I speak?" she asked. The head counselor gestured permission. Zira turned to Marcus. "Tell them about the accident. The one 6 months ago." Marcus looked nervous but stepped forward. "I'm Marcus Chen. I'm a teacher. 6 months ago, I saw a car crash. There was a child trapped inside and the car was on fire. I broke my arm pulling her out." He paused. "I didn't think about it. I just acted. Because that's what we do. We help each other." "Why?" one of the council members asked. "The child was not yours. You gained nothing from risking yourself." "I gained everything," Marcus said simply. "I gained the knowledge that I did the right thing, that I made a difference. That's worth more than safety." Elena stepped forward next. "I'm Elena Chen, Marcus's sister. I'm studying to be a veterinarian. I spend my days helping animals that can't pay me or thank me, or even understand what I'm doing. I do it because caring for others, any others, makes life meaningful." David picked up his guitar. "I'm David. I teach music for free because I believe everyone deserves to experience beauty. I gave Kaylin here guitar lessons and she was terrible at first." He smiled at Kaylin. "But I kept teaching because I saw how much she wanted to learn, how much joy it brought her. That joy was my payment." Other neighbors began arriving, called by Marcus during the night. They filed into the apartment one by one, each sharing their story. The single mother who worked 2 jobs so her children could have better lives. The elderly man who volunteered at the homeless shelter. The teenager who started a community garden. Ordinary humans doing extraordinary things without expecting rewards. Zira watched the council members' faces. They were listening now. Really listening. Finally, Zira spoke directly to the council. "You sent us here to learn humility, to understand what it means to be primitive. But we learned something else. We learned that humans are not primitive, they're advanced in ways we never considered. They measure success not by how long they live or how much power they have, but by how much love they give. They face death every day, knowing their time is brief, and they choose to spend it helping strangers. They create art and music and beauty knowing it will outlast them. They form connections that hurt when they break but form them anyway because connection is worth the pain." Kaylin added, "We were criminals when we arrived. Selfish, arrogant, convinced of our superiority. These humans transformed us. They taught us compassion, courage, and community. If you destroy this planet, you destroy the greatest teachers in the galaxy." The apartment fell silent. The council members conferred quietly among themselves. The wait was agonizing. Finally, the head counselor spoke. "The council has made a decision. Earth will be granted protected status. No mining operations, no forced relocations. Limited contact protocols will be established." He paused. "As for you 2 exiles, your sentences are hereby modified. You will serve as official Earth liaisons. Your exile becomes assignment. You will remain on Earth to facilitate communication between our species and to continue your research on human culture." Zira felt her knees go weak with relief. Kaylin grabbed her arm to steady her. "However," the counselor continued, "your relationships with the native population must be disclosed in all official reports. Personal connections are not forbidden, but they must be transparent. Do you accept these terms?" "Yes," they both said immediately. "Then this hearing is concluded. Commander Turvok, release them from custody. Earth is under Velothian protection effective immediately." The transmission ended. For a moment, no one moved. Then Elena threw her arms around Zira, laughing and crying at the same time. Marcus pulled Kaylin into a tight embrace. David started playing a triumphant chord on his guitar. "We did it," Elena said, pulling back to look at Zira's face. "We actually did it." "You did it," Zira corrected. "You and Marcus and David and everyone else. You saved yourselves by being exactly who you are." Commander Turvok deactivated his weapons. "I will file my report. Official liaison assignments will be processed within the week. Until then, you remain on Earth under provisional status." He looked at the humans gathered in the apartment. "Your species is unusual. But perhaps that is not a weakness." After the enforcers left, the apartment erupted in celebration. Neighbors who didn't fully understand what had happened celebrated anyway, because they understood that something good had occurred. Someone brought food, someone else brought music. The party spilled into the hallway and then outside into the morning sunshine. Later, when things calmed down, Zira and Elena found a quiet corner. They sat close together, Elena's hand in Zira's silver-skinned one. "So," Elena said, "we're dating an alien. That's going to take some getting used to." "We?" Zira looked at her in surprise. "Well, yeah. I mean, if you want to. I know the last 24 hours have been insane, but my feelings haven't changed. You're still the same person I fell for. You just happen to be from another planet." Elena smiled. "That's actually kind of cool when I think about it." Zira felt warmth spread through her chest. "I love you, Elena. I have loved you for months. I was just afraid to say it. I love you too. Even with the weird silver skin and extra finger." Elena kissed her gently. "Especially with the weird silver skin and extra finger." Across the room, Kaylin and Marcus were having a similar conversation. Marcus had 1,000 questions about Veloth and space travel and alien technology. But first, he pulled Kaylin close. "So you're staying on Earth?" he asked. "It appears so. Official assignment. I have to study human culture and write reports." Kaylin smiled slightly. "I think I can manage that." "Good. Because I'm not done getting to know you. The real you." He touched her face gently. "All of you. I love you, Marcus. I did not expect to love anyone when I came here, but you changed everything. That's what love does. Changes everything." He kissed her softly. "Welcome home, Kaylin. Welcome to Earth." Hour. 3 months later, life had settled into a new normal. Zira and Kaylin filed regular reports with the Velothian Council about human behavior and culture. They had become small celebrities in the neighborhood, the friendly aliens who had saved Earth. Children asked them questions about space. Adults invited them to community events. They had become part of the fabric of human society. Zira and Elena had moved in together. Elena was finishing her veterinary degree, while Zira worked with animal rescue organizations, putting her enhanced strength and reflexes to good use. They talked about the future carefully, knowing that Elena's human lifespan was so much shorter than Zira's Velothian one. But they chose to focus on the present, on the time they had together, making each day count. Kaylin and Marcus were taking things slowly, but their relationship was growing stronger. Kaylin had enrolled in community college to formally study human culture. Marcus joked that she was the most overqualified student in history, an alien with advanced technology studying human sociology. But Kaylin was genuinely interested, genuinely learning, genuinely grateful for the second chance Earth had given her. One evening, all 4 of them sat on the apartment rooftop, watching the stars. Somewhere up there was Veloth, powerful and advanced. But here, on this small blue planet, 2 exiled aliens had found something their sophisticated civilization had forgotten. "I was thinking," Elena said, leaning against Zira. "You 2 were sent here as punishment. But it turned out to be the best thing that ever happened to you. And to us," Marcus added, holding Kaylin's hand. Zira looked up at the stars and smiled. "We thought we were being punished. We thought we were losing everything. But we were really finding everything." "Finding what?" Elena asked. "Home," Kaylin answered simply. "We found home." And as the 4 of them sat together under Earth's stars, 2 humans and 2 aliens, two couples who should never have existed but did. They understood a truth that the Velothian Council was only beginning to learn. That advancement is not measured in technology, or lifespan, or power. It is measured in the capacity to love, to change, to grow, and by that measure, humanity was the most advanced species in the galaxy. They had been sent to Earth as punishment, and found love instead. And in finding love, they had found themselves. The end.